Welcome to Boxside the Out. My efforts on this channel are going to be to discuss topics pertaining to politics, policy, history, philosophy, current events, and many more, in ways that are beyond normal. To question my own beliefs, to re-examine ideas and concepts in new ways that I feel are not contemplated or discussed or currently challenged. Through this questioning process, perhaps discover actionable solutions to the major issues facing America and humanity in this new digital AI era. I am also going to question the beliefs of religious groups, economists, governments, and likely many of you who are listening to this now. The key word is questioning. When you question something, that doesn't necessarily mean that you do or don't agree with an idea or statement. Sometimes you need to question things for the mere fact of going through the process of re-examination, reevaluating people, places, and ideas. This process can either continue to solidify your position on a given issue, event, or person, or compel you to rethink, modify, or completely change that position. Now, if you are receiving this signal and you are not subscribed, commenting in the comment section, and or liking or even disliking this video, quite honestly, it's not really maximizing the benefit of something like the internet, where ideas can be so thoroughly discussed on a global scale instantaneously with valuable critiques, which really help content providers become better arbiters of both your time and theirs. Mediocrity is the fast path to nowhere. Be engaged. It was difficult for me to decide what my first topic of commentary was going to be on. I have decided to start with the right to self-determination and the Second Amendment. Now, I know this constitutional right has vociferous defenders and detractors on all sides of the argument. Regardless of your position around your Second Amendment constitutional right, you also have the constitutional right as described in the First Amendment to petition your government for redress of grievances to amend the Constitution. If you are of the belief Americans should not possess the ability to own firearms to defend yourself, your property, or your neighbors, your state, or your country, you absolutely have the right to petition those that agree with you and to get the necessary number of votes in the Congress, state governors, the Supreme Court, and the presidency to change the Constitution. It's not like you don't have a remedy. Until that happens, you do not have the right to infringe on Americans' constitutional rights that agree with the current supreme law of the land as it is currently stated. So instead of insulting a significant portion of Americans by spewing propaganda that some Americans don't care about schools or children, why aren't you spending the time building a coalition to amend the Constitution? I would also like to address the pro-Second Amendment position. Behind only the AARP, the NRA is generally considered to be the largest lobbying group in America. A question one could ask oneself is, how are there hundreds of gun laws on the books in America with thousands of smaller regulations, permits, fees, licensing requirements, and restrictions when the Constitution clearly states shall not be infringed? Just as the liberal side of the American political spectrum uses something like abortion rights as a means to raise funds for their party, do pro-Second Amendment Americans ever feel like the NRA is duping them and really not fighting for their constitutional right to not be infringed just so that the NRA could continue to be one of the largest lobby groups and fundraising organizations in America? If America is not to go by the wayside and become as Europe, through the gradual or sudden and outright removal of citizens' abilities to protect and defend themselves, their neighbors, in their communities, when are we going to see full Second Amendment rights restored to Americans by nullification of every local, state, federal gun law or regulation? Each one clearly infringes upon every American's Bill of Rights. Where are all of the individuals that claim to be constitutional originalists like Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch? Every gun law ban, restriction, permit, etc., is in violation of every American's Second Amendment constitutional right, every single one. So the Supreme Court, for much of their existence, has been in violation of its duty to protect and defend the U.S. Constitution. All 9 members on the bench today should be removed for this and many other gross usurpations of power. Usurpation by the government, as stated by James Otis Jr., one of the original revolutionaries of America, stated that any law written in violation of the Constitution is void. And I would agree. Even if I disagreed, it really wouldn't matter because it wouldn't change the fact that they are all violations of the Constitution. Now, if all those Supreme Court justices, politicians, governors, or any organized group that wish to see limitations or changes upon the Second Amendment, they too have a remedy. They could amend the Second Amendment to limit specific magazines, round restrictions, age limits, felony limitations, etc. The overriding problem with every single gun law, restriction, and permit, etc., in the country is that they have not been adjudicated through the proper channel, which is amending the Constitution to make explicit and clear what is the supreme law of the land. The fact that this type of issue persists and pervades across all of our Bill of Rights is the reason why we live in the military industrial complex prison surveillance state that we currently do. We must join together as a people, as fellow countrymen and women, to look out for one another and to demand that the Constitution be defended above and beyond all other laws of the country. That no global accord, law, or treaty, is going to supersede the constitutional rights of Americans in America. That cannot and must not happen. This country has some house cleaning to do. That's supposed to be what a democratic republic does. We are, in fact, a republic. Every American's individual rights cannot be violated, subjugated, infringed upon, denied, or overridden because of the psychotic machinations of politicians in the majority or the minority. Not by proxy, not by usurpation, not by memo, not by signing statements. The old revolutionaries and the original founders of America often disagreed on most topics, but they were absolutely united in the wisdom that an overreaching centralized government that does not respect the rights of the individual, their unalienable rights, their property, their labor, and their intellectual property, always leads to tyranny. We have a united enemy. It is not your neighbor. It's not your uncle at Thanksgiving dinner. It's not the liberal who cut your hair. It's not the conservative small business owner down the street. Who or what is America's enemy? I'm going to put some thoughts on that together, and I'll drop some thoughts on that topic soon. If you made it this far, truly thank you. Be memorable, live free.